because so many people are walking around with all of these spiritual gifts and the physical sensations in our bodies when spirit is speaking through us, and they're turning to addictions, or they have panic disorders, or they have anxiety, or they don't leave the house because there's too much energy out there. There's so many ways that people are actually suffering because their experiences are so big and the sensations that they feel.
Intergalactic beings of multi-dimensional realities. Welcome to Channeling.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to bring Angie Greenfield on today. Hi, Angie. Welcome to Channeling.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I am so excited. The one reason why I was super excited to bring Angie on is that in her journey of discovering all of her abilities as being a psychic medium, a shamanic, intuitive healer, a spiritual coach, she has come up with a kind of a schooling for people to help discover their own gifts and find their unique gifts in what they have to offer. And the name of the course is The Art of Decoding Your Gifts, right? And is this also a book that you've prepared, or is it just a course?
It is a course. It does have a workbook that goes with it. But yeah, it isn't a book yet.
Well, here we go. The seed just has been planted. Boom. So I'm just excited to explore a little bit with you today and start out with how you discovered your gifts. And because this is Welcome to Channeling, we're here talking about these things to encourage people on their own journey of opening within themselves. One basic thing that I base everything on, the foundation of my channel and what I believe, is that we all are channeling. Our experience of life is a channeling, us being entities of a deep, deep nature. And we ourselves are channeled into a physical form for us to experience what we're experiencing now. And as we start widening our understanding of what we are, I think the term channeling, I think it starts to lose some of its fearful nature sometimes for people. And that's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm here doing, is spreading the good news. We don't have to be afraid. And if we stumble and fall and we don't understand in the middle of our exploration, it's only natural. It's like a baby learning how to walk. We get to take one step at a time and discover what our skills are and how to interpret the things that we receive. So that's my splurge before we start and jump in. And I want to hear your story about how you really opened to understanding your gifts, Angie.
I love everything that you shared too, because we do get a little bit serious when it comes to our spiritual journey and our spiritual gifts. There is a responsibility with it and an integrity with it, but it really is a whole thing of exploration and play and practice. When my first time really feeling into my gifts, I was about 6 years old and I was in first grade, and I felt the need to put my hands on the back of a girl who was coughing. She had like bronchitis or something. And I just felt the pull to just put my hands on her back, and I got in trouble. I kept getting in trouble from the teacher, like, don't keep your hands to yourself. And I wasn't being aggressive. It was just as simple. I felt the call to put my hand on her back. And I ended up getting paddled from my teacher because I wouldn't keep my hands to myself. And it caused a big thing for me. There was a really big energetic imprint, and I feel that it was to help me to remember that moment for myself, that I was being called to do something outside of myself with spirit, and to continue to do that, and to remember that moment as such a big imprint that spirit was speaking through me. And at the time, the people in my life couldn't really understand and support exactly what I was feeling. And especially with the religious background of my family, those gifts were not taken in a light way or in a positive way for most of my life. So me going through this process of feeling into that, seeing angels, getting messages, having vision. I had a vision that my grandmother died, and my great grandmother, and exactly how she passed. And then the next day she did. But my family wasn't really accepting of these things. And so as I've gone through my life, it's really, I feel like I have been fighting, not just for me, but for other people, to find ways to connect into accepting these calls and these visions and these experiences, and to continue to root into that inner compass and inner guidance, and to use it in the world, even if it isn't being accepted by the people around you. And that's really what caused me to create this training, this course, The Art of Decoding Your Gifts, is because so many people are walking around with all of these spiritual gifts, and the physical sensations in our bodies when spirit is speaking through us, and they're turning to addictions, or they have panic disorders, or they have anxiety, or they don't leave the house because there's too much energy out there. There's so many ways that people are actually suffering because their experiences are so big and the sensations that they feel. And so it's really restricting people's life experience because they're not understanding that, hey, that's part of your spiritual gifts. And if you can find some tools to tune into those things, then it's not so scary. It's not so big. It can be manageable. And there is a lot of play in it. And exploration. I tell my students all the time, like, this is a science experiment in spirituality, and if it doesn't land, it's okay. Like, it's not the end of the world. We're okay. Also, there's a fear for a lot of people that if I open this door even this much, what's going to happen to me, and what's going to happen to my life, and what changes are going to happen in my relationships, and how will people view me? And I know for myself and my own experience, as my psychic mediumship gifts and things are expanding, it is a lot of energy for people to first understand, because if they don't understand that for themselves and they hear my experience, it creates a lot of space of, how is this possible? Is what she's saying real? And then it's, oh my God, that's a lot. There's a lot of energy contained in those shares and those experiences, especially if they're part of it. And then it can also create a lot of stories of the people around you second guessing themselves, or falling into their limiting beliefs, or feeling like, oh, well, my spiritual gifts aren't as good as yours, so I'm not even going to do anything with it. And really being in a lot of self-judgment about themselves, instead of realizing that each one of us has something so beautiful, our signature essence, or our signature spice is what I like to say. Mm-hmm. It's so unique, and it's all needed, and it's all valid. And just because one person's experiencing it really big with lots of lights and technicolor, it doesn't mean that the soft essence of things that other people are experiencing in really subdued, subtle, gentle ways is not the same in value or importance. Yeah. So there's so many ways that these things can be shut down in us. And so for me, in my practice and in my experience of my life, it's really just keep going back in and going, okay, this is a part of me, and this is going to be this way for certain people, but I know my integrity with my work. I know where my heart is. I know where my connection is to my inner compass. I know where my connection is to spirit and source. And that is the only person that it matters with. If no one else in the world, if no one else is okay with it, then I know that I'm doing my work and my mission, like you said. I know that I'm in connection to that. And if people don't align with it, it's not my job to manage that.
That's so beautiful. You just said a whole lot there, and I'm like, let me quickly jump back to one thing that you said, and then that thing, and then that thing, because I can relate to so much of what you shared. I was so little when I became aware of a lot of the gifts that I have, and a part of it for me is I feel like I really had to work hard to like stay grounded on earth, because I was off in the ethers, and one of my earliest remembrances is like me being 3.5, 4, and being at, we were visiting my grandparents' house, and there was this kind of shamanic medicine woman who was teaching a reflexology class. And I think it's interesting with touch, because she was, rubbing my feet or whatever. And she's like showing me a little bit, and I'm just this tiny baby, and she's like, here, do you do my feet? And I held her foot, and I remember feeling this connection going all the way up through her. And she looked at me, she's like, oh, you have a gift. And, it's like, huh, isn't it interesting that, many, many, many years later, I entered in and started doing massage work, but of course, through Reiki and through energetic work, and all of that over the years expanded tremendously into the experiences that I have now. But I mean, it's like those beginnings happen, oftentimes as a young kid, you get little glimpses of that, and you feel the connection. And I think that's so amazing that, when you work with people, do you often find that when you talk about their gifts, that you can often find places when they were really young, when those things were showing up for them and they remember those? Or is it sometimes that they're just like, I had no idea, and this is all new to me?
I think it's a combo pack.
Mm-hmm.
It's both and. I feel that sometimes when I'm working with people, we're kind of, we start unpacking things, and then they start connecting. It's also, in my experience too, it's like sometimes you just need to hear somebody say, this was my experience. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I've been doing that my whole life too. And, or it'll remind them of some kind of experience. I think too, sometimes people don't understand that something is like part of their gift too.
Okay. Like a sensitivity or something that they first originally thought it was a problem. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, like I'll use my voice as an example. When I've been singing my whole life I've been in the studio since I was 8. And it wasn't until I started teaching yoga almost 10 years ago, and I started singing in my classes and seeing the emotional response from my voice. And then getting feedback, like people having past life regression, or seeing angels, or seeing colors, or having really major emotional releases. And then I had a woman say to me, oh, do you know that you have ketones and you have this healing element or tone in your voice? And I was like, I was trying to understand what was happening. So I wasn't realizing that spirit was using that energy through my channel of my voice as a way to bring healing in the world. So I think that there's other things for people too, that they get stuck on. It has to be like Ghostbusters or a movie for it to be something of value. But somebody who's baking and putting love in energy, and then people are, eating that, and they're having a meditative experience when they're creating the food for somebody. And then when the person's eating it, they're feeling that love. They're feeling that energy that the person put into the food. So I think that sometimes it doesn't have to be something like channeling or in an office, where you're doing healing and energetic work. I see it as somebody who's a stylist and all intuitively pulls all these colors that somebody would never have worn. And then also pulling in these other elements that bring in confidence and in a reflection of self-love that the person didn't feel before being in the stylist's arms or face,
No, I love that. I think we all have our own gifts that actually there's magic in them in a way that the energy that we bring with them can be super healing because they're full of love. They're full of us fully being in alignment. They're us sharing what we are instead of holding back what we are. And I see it even in people who know how to make a really cool gathering, who just know how to bring people together and invite them together, and they celebrate. And that if you're there with whatever they've planned, whatever they've prepared, and it doesn't have to be super fancy, but that a certain healing, loving element is there, and that you're going to feel that connection when you go, when you go to that place with them. I mean, even as simple as that, I think sometimes we don't see those things that we naturally bring with us into the world when we're dedicated and we're in love with ourselves and we're dedicated in expressing our uniqueness to everyone around us. I'm curious. I wanted to jump into this course that you have and maybe lay out a few categories or how you go about in the discovery process of finding these unique skills and these unique talents that people have.
Well, part of it is creating a legend. And so really finding different practices to start connecting back into the physical body. Because spirit speaks through us in the sensations of our body. And so when we get into dissonance or disconnection from our physical body, which is a really big deal for women, especially if they're not seeing themselves or having self-love practices or seeing the beauty in themselves, or, especially as we're aging, not being so connected to what we look like and what we feel like. And so really the first place in this is really connecting into the physical body and starting to create a legend of experiences of the sensations. So noticing what does a yes and no feel like in your body?
Yeah.
Starting with that, like what's a yes and what's a no, and where do you feel it? And what does that sensation feel like for you physically?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm feeling that in right now. And whoever's listening, if you're listening or watching, go ahead and ask that of yourself. If you can sit here and take 3 deep breaths and ask yourself, what is a yes in my body? And what does that feel like? And then what is a no in my body? And I can feel the distinct difference of that. And if this is a weird feeling and you're just starting to pick up the sensations of your own body, and this is a little foreign to you, take the time. You can pause this, or after we're done, take the time. You can lay down if that feels more comfortable, and take deep breaths and ask, what is a yes in my body? And what is a no in my body? And if there is a little bit of conflict, you can ask for clarity around that. How do you encourage people to ask for clarity? Because this is a really beautiful thing, because us as powerful and empowered beings, we can ask for assistance if something is clammed up and we can't quite distinguish how to read it.
Yeah.
Like how would you suggest? I mean, a lot of people have keywords, but I'm curious as to you, what you do, Angie, what you encourage people to do.
Well, the second home of the intuition is in the belly. So intuitively, like you'll feel something in the belly. There could be a tightening. You could feel nauseous. You could feel like your stomach is flipping over.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so for me, if let's just say you're being invited to go somewhere and you're not feeling like it's a hell yes, right?
Yeah.
You could feel restriction in the belly in some way, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and a little, maybe even tightening in the chest,
Mm-hmm.
or there could be some kind of resistance feeling in the body. So if you're looking to come up with like a yes or no answer, like ask yourself something, like, is my name Angie? Right? So ask yourself like something that is absolutely a yes for you, or I love my child, or whatever it is that is a yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then checking in with, what does the body feel when you ask the question?
Mm-hmm.
And then ask yourself a question that is a no. Like, I don't want this person in my life anymore. And that you've had to create a boundary. What that that that's an absolute for you in this moment. So ask yourself something that is a no.
Yeah.
And then feel into, what do those two feelings feel like before going into, the exploration of that.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I think that's beautiful. As we play with that, we can become more and more familiar in our bodies. And I know there are some people out there who it's like you feel like maybe you're in kind of a chaos storm, right? It's like, and maybe there's a lot of patterns of self-doubt or self-sabotage that kind of get tangled up in you. And this is also a way that I'm offering another thing that you can do if you're noticing that really that's the case with you, is to actually feel into when you're asking the questions. If you feel something that's bound in your body, be attentive with that thing that you feel is binding you. You can ask yourself, what is this emotion? Is this, self-doubt? Is this this kind of a pattern? And be with it and invite it out into the light. Be with it and invite it out to the light, into the love. We all have this amazing love that's all around us. And being with it and being able to help unburden yourself from that will clear up the lane for you to be able to have the clarity that you desire, have the clarity that you're truly wishing to have. So I'm offering that as a suggestion. If anyone is feeling that within themselves, if they're starting to realize, oh my gosh, I'm having so many self-doubting patterns that are showing up, and it's hard for me to understand what's really true and what's not. I have had to walk through a lot of that, a lot of self-doubt, and a lot of trying to understand what a yes and a no is for me. And that in and of itself is a really good medicine journey for people. If they can find those things that are conflicting,
Mm-hmm.
the signals within them, and being able to be with them and just open them up and bring them to light and love. And naturally our systems are geared so that we have a beautiful medicine within us to transmute, to understand, to bring a limited perspective out into the larger perspective of love within us. And so I think I'm excited to be able to offer, share that with people. If you're having trouble understanding your yeses and your nos in your life, to be able to feel that out.
Can I piggyback onto that?
Yes.
So there's a couple other tools too that I use for myself as well. Is first, get grounded.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel like you're all over the place, go outside, put your bare feet on the ground, lay down on the ground, and just take a few breaths.
Mm-hmm.
Like really just find a place that you can land. And sometimes I like to call those the rackets, the rackets that play, because it's like playing racquetball with yourself. When
Yeah.
you're playing racquetball, even if you have a partner in there with you, the ball is just hitting all the walls. It's not going out into a field, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not, it's just bouncing off the walls, which is what can happen when we get into that self-doubt, or questioning ourselves, or feeling like we're in the middle of a tropical depression or hurricane, Cat 5 hurricane.
There you go.
So it's like when you start to notice those little things, taking a moment to get grounded, and maybe even just like writing them all out on a paper, like you're just doing like a brain dump of everything that's coming up in that moment, and then do some kind of move, like body embodiment practice, like maybe drumming on the body, also using your voice, just making a tone, just
Mm-hmm.
ah. So just finding a way that you can discharge some of that energy and really come back into center in yourself.
That's so beautiful. I love that. And these are all kind of intuitive things that you start picking up as you be in this with yourself, and you start knowing, oh gosh, I need to take this into an action so that some of this can be diffused, and so that even if you've decided on a new course of action, that stepping into that action and that movement helps it flow through, helps it become more established. I love that.
Yeah,
Oh,
and you find some clarity too, because
yeah.
sometimes just like writing out all those limiting beliefs, or all the places that we're stuck, or all the rackets, it can really help you to see like, oh, this is what my dad used to say, or this is what a teacher said, or this isn't even mine, or where is this even coming from? You know, it can really help us to hone in on what do we need to let, like, that isn't ours and isn't serving us, just go. And then where is the place for us to ground into, that we can just take as a first step of connection to who we really are.
That's a good phrase. And it's a tricky phrase, because connecting to who we really are has so many layers to it, right? And for someone who maybe has been really strongly stuck in a strong identity, just in egoic identity for so long, maybe that step is just breaking slightly free from that identity and seeing, oh, I'm more than this, right? Or I'm not just this character, I'm not just this role, I'm also playing this role, even if I don't like seeing that I'm playing that role also, and so we just start to expand. For someone else, it may mean something like, like totally setting aside identity itself and really being able to step beyond this earthly identity that we have, and going into, oh my gosh, I have a larger galactic identity, that I can look into and see these dynamics in, or, something like that. So it's totally different. Or identifying you as a spirit and a soul and saying, oh, I'm more than this physical body. What is this energy, this thing that transcends death, that's still here when I let go of the idea of what I am? What is this thing that's here? So it can mean a whole lot of things, that statement is. And I think it's perfect though, because it's medicine. It's medicine that's applicable to anyone, right?
Yeah.
At any time. So I love that. I'm taking a little breath. I'm taking a drink of water. Letting that compute. Letting that We're doing our own medicine here, you guys. Hydration is key. I'd love to chat further more on how you assist people in that centering and that connecting into the depths of what they are, because this is a big love of mine, and this is kind of like the big juicy bite for me of how do we get to share this beauty and this depth help people open to the depth of what they are. Because when you, at first it may seem a little scary, but I think the more you go, the more juicy and the more wonderful it can feel as we overcome those fears and we step forward.
I think with my students, with my clients, it's like it's doing things in baby bite-size, brownie bite-size bites. Like just picking the one thing that they feel connected to. And I think also like really tying into like a grounding practice or non-negotiable practices for themselves. For them to start identifying like what's a racket, what's a limiting belief, what are some statements that are keeping me from doing something that I'm feeling called to do. You know, like it could be your parents, it could be your partner, it could be, you know, these people who are important in our life who may not understand these gifts within us. And it keeps us from doing that thing that source or spirit or universe is pulling through us to live into, to grow into, to connect with. And so I find that, and in my own experience, is like just picking the one thing and then doing that one thing regardless of what other people think, and maybe not even sharing it for a beat till you feel a little bit more connected or confident or excited, or you're hearing and seeing signs that you weren't seeing before.
I love that. I love that. I think it is so important. You talk about grounding, you talk about the sense of safety that's so important when we enter into these ways. And I'm thinking back to that baby who's learning how to walk, right? You know, and the parents set up the area and they put they protect the corners of the tables. They're seeing that this baby is going to start crawling or walking, and they encourage it. You know, they set up the same thing, like every day for 30 minutes, I'm going to put them on their tummy, even if they're just not upset about it, you know.
Right.
And they just start developing the skills and the ways they can move within that space. And they start learning how to get up on their hands and knees and doing what they want to do. And I think if we can look at ourselves in that way and say, okay, I'm providing myself a certain space. I'm providing myself the safety that, so if that means you're not telling your boyfriend that you're doing this, or you're not telling your mom or dad or whatever, then so be it. Whatever that looks like for you, in order for you to feel that safety. And then even finding maybe one or two people that are already doing it, that have gone before, that can give you encouragement and say, way to go. I knew that doing that was scary for you, but look at you now. You feel more confident in this way.
Yeah.
You feel more confident, like you can go to a ceremony and it's now you feel okay to sing, you know, or that kind of a thing. So I think that is a really beautiful thing. My guys have told me, just that I've got to rub my nose. I'm going to edit that out. Okay. I am not human. I don't have to rub my nose. Have talked about kind of preparing what is called a kernel. It's your kernel, and it helps. It's almost like this space of magnification where what you do in it, your intent, what you're bringing into the world, what you're wanting to expand within yourself, you can be there in it. And it doesn't have to be a large space, just you establishing that pattern, and having that space can be a huge thing for people to be, you know, imagine someone who wants to become a great biker. If they didn't make room in their garage for their bike, they're not going to go anywhere, right?
Yeah.
So I think that that's a really great thing to establish. Now, in your course, do you offer some options of maybe meditations or breath, or is this kind of a one-on-one thing where you're saying, where you're connecting with the person, you're like, okay, you already connected with prayer. What about it becoming more of a meditation prayer or something like that? Is that how you work with them?
You mean one-on-one or in
Yeah.
the training or in the group? Because I do
In the group.
yeah, in the group I have I support them creating non-negotiable practices. But can I circle back to one thing that from what you just said?
Yeah.
I think one thing that I notice with my students is that people feel like if they start doing one thing that it's going to be so big, right? And something that for me is like, you really can open the door as much as you want. You are in control about how big you want to open up your channel or how big you want to do this thing. So it's really, you get to decide. You don't have to go gangbusters and be open this wide in the experience. It could be just one little tiny thing. And that could be like these non-negotiable practices where for one, I like to share with all my students these practices for myself because they've really made a difference in my life and enabled me to be grounded and to be able to do my work in the world. One is a prayer protection. And I call in divine source energy or light or whatever you want to use wherever you are in the spectrum. If you want to call in God or Jesus or love or universe or spirit is something that I feel connected to, is using that word. So I'm calling in spirit's energy. And then I'm calling in my guidance team, my spirit guides, my angels. I have one main guide that I use and that I connect to in this moment. And so I'm calling those two elements as the recipe for that prayer. And I know for myself, when I first started doing these prayer practices, even my husband, like I noticed a difference with my teenagers. And my husband said to me at dinner one night, we're all at dinner, and he's like, "What are you putting in the food?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "You're doing something," because everybody started to calm down in our house. And there was a different rhythm and energy happening, and no one knew exactly what I was doing. And I've even had a mother who had a toddler who he was not wanting to be around her as she was working through some trauma work. And as soon as she started doing the prayer, he was sitting in her lap again.
Wow.
So there's these really big examples of how something so simple can really create a peaceful, energetic space for you. It begins this conversation and activation and bigger work with our guides, and also is creating a savings account of spirit energy through us and around us that really does make a big difference. It really makes a big difference.
I want to jump in there because I can so agree with you on that. I can say etheric bank account, but it's not an etheric bank account. But at the same time, it's the nourishment that encourages you to expand even further and further. The more my guides say, you can stretch as far as you want, but know that what you're creating and the investment that you're creating, you're always supported. Like the support is always going to be there for you. And the more you do that, the more you practice that, the more when you come back and you're back in your presence, you feel the field more, you feel the support more, and you can draw on it, I think, more and more in your life. And that's how it's been for me. It sounds like that's how it's been for you.
Yeah. And I love how you said that too, because it is like we are always supported. So the prayer practice is never coming from a place of fear or lack, or that we aren't supported if we're not doing these prayer practices. It's just creating an extra element of that work, that collaboration, and that universal and energetic support.
I love that. And what just came to mind, an image, as far as an image is concerned, it's like the worker bees. You gotta move your feet, and you're making that honey. You're making that honey as you do it. Just being able to know that you're investing, that you're entering, and you're opening in that way, and you're using your will, you're using your desire, and what you're wanting to create in your life, and it's just even a small little practice like that does so much just so much for you. And I love you mentioning, yeah, we're not doing it in fear. If we can enter into these practices and say, I'm excited to discover what's going to be magic for me,
Yes.
right? I am excited to discover even, the little one word that I can use that I know is going to be, it's just like healing balm for me, whatever it is. And as we explore that way, we're creating that honey for ourselves. It's just sweet, and it makes our life sweeter, I think, as we see
Yes.
those results. That's so sweet.
100%.
I love that. Well, I'm curious as to if you wanted to share one specific one of those of course, everyone's non-negotiable practice will be different, but maybe one that you've established for yourself. I think that might be really fun to offer people. And then we can end with some channeling or something else fun, because we're welcome to channeling. So is there kind of one of the practices that you would want to get specific on that you could share with people who are just entering in here and want to find a foundation for them to step forward with?
I think it's two-part, because the prayer practice for me is really important. There's other elements of practices that I add into my daily practice for that. But the other thing is the voice.
Okay.
And so the voice, like the sound of our own voice, creates a prescription for healing that no other modality energetically can do for our physical and energetic bodies. And so when we're using our sound, not only are we discharging energy, but we're connecting to spirit, and we're allowing for that resonance of our own sound. The resonance that is with our own sound resonates through our cells in our body, and it can elevate our experience, and it can help us to feel emotions and to discharge those energies that are within us, so that we can be more open to spirit, and that we can open our channel and expand the channel. And so when you're singing in resonance, and I could give you two examples.
Yes, I would love that.
Okay. So when you're not singing in resonance, it sounds like this. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. So energetically, it feels what to you?
Feels weak.
And anything else?
It feels like it feels dark. It feels like it's pulling something down into the earth, like, if that makes any sense.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're singing with resonance, it's not just about volume, it's about how the voice expands the sound inside of you. So I want a presence. I know a lot of people have a big story about what their voice sounds like, and if they sound like American Idol, or if they sound like a monk, or if they sound like whatever, or somebody told them they have a terrible singing voice. This is not about that. This is about using your own medicine. Like, we have so many ways that we can use our own medicine within ourself for ourself. So if you have to go in the shower or the car alone or whatever it is, it's like finding the sounds that can help you to resonate your own tone.
Okay.
So this is with resonance, Amazing Grace, and I'll just sing the same line.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing grace.
More. Don't leave me hanging.
So,
yeah.
What did you feel from the sound of that?
Well, I am a singer too, but what I really felt was I felt this expansiveness in my heart. It was like, it was allowing this flow to occur and just expand and be expressed. So that's what I felt. Very different than the first example. So yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's like finding the songs and the sounds. Like Adele has a lot of beautiful resonance in her voice. Joss Stone is another one who has a lot of resonance in her voice. There's so many different singers, but it's really like finding the way that you can allow your sound to expand out from that central energy channel and to just help you to release. And sometimes that will help you cry. It will help you feel, it's great for if you're nervous about something, if you're getting ready to speak, if you're going into an environment that you might feel triggered when you get in there. It's like finding this practice to help you to discharge and to open up the channel and to really kind of activate some of that spirit energy at a cellular level in our system.
Oh, I love that. That is a really golden nugget. That is a golden nugget for me to chew on. Oh, I am so glad that you shared that with me, because singing and voice is so important in my life. And of course, being able to express the connection from the heart, the connection from the depth of you, and allowing it to expand, and that actually being a practice and recognizing it as a practice to discharge what isn't in alignment, or what's what needs to get released, and then you becoming clearer and cleaner. I think that's so great. I mean, what a great preparation, say, if you are channeling, or if you want to enter into channeling, having that, maybe spending a few minutes doing that, and then connecting in and identifying the links and who your guides are. I think that's such a great idea for a practice. I love that. So I love that. And if any of you are here and you really want some guidance for just stepping in, dipping your toe in, of course, Angie and I are available. You can reach out to us and, help with guiding with some guidance in finding your own unique connection, whether it's, a traditional view of channeling, whether you're an intuitive, whether things flow through you in different ways. We're here for you. We're here. And we're more than happy to chat. We're more than happy to bring you into groups that we're involved in. And Angie, do you kind of set up your group at a certain time in the year, that kind of a thing? Is that how you work it?
It's at different times. I'm just always when spirit calls. I've just finished yesterday my last season of Magic School, or the one that I just finished was yet last night, and the next one will be in September. I'm actually doing a retreat in Costa Rica, a full week with the Art of Decoding Your Gifts retreat, where people can really be fully immersed in the experience of their spiritual gifts and channeling and connecting to their guides.
When is that coming up?
That's September 20th.
September 20th. Oh my gosh. I want to just hop on down there. That sounds so thrilling. I love it. And hopping on down to Costa Rica and to Magic School, right?
Magic School. Yeah, that's what my students call it, Magic School. I will be doing it on Zoom starting in September again too.
Perfect.
So both.
That's awesome. Well, I will make sure to have the links down below, connected in with where people can find you. And do you want to say out loud just kind of your general contacts, email or your website, or what people can jump to find you?
Sure. My website is centertheheart.com, all spelled out. And my email is Angie at centertheheart.com.
Perfect. Okay. I'm just checking in with my guides to see what they say about channeling right now, and if this is a good time. I never know. I'm just checking in. They're saying that you have something flowing through you, lovely lady. I'm just feeling into that. Yes. Angie, are you willing to leave us with a channeled thought or a channeled message? Because that's coming in real strong for me. So My lady, take it away.
What's coming in this moment is that this is a time of death and rebirth for us.
Mm-hmm.
And the dying off can feel like a lot. It can feel like a lot of energy. It can feel a lot of mental chatter and mental things coming in, shadow stuff, awareness about different patterns that you have in your life, and also stories about who you are not, or maybe who you used to be. And what Spirit is saying in this moment is that really to find the practices to do something a tiny bit different, to refine and tune your path, your views of yourself, and your ability to step into who you are, so that you can start to share your gifts in the world, so that you can connect and share these beautiful, brilliant energies and recipes that are just waiting to come through you.
Thank you. I felt that was directly toward me too.
It was very strong.
It was coming through. It's kind of interesting because I have this podcast, Welcome to Channeling, but the last month and a half, the amount that I've channeled has diminished, and a lot is coming through just exactly as you've said, and I have been on this mission of trying to tune and tone. I love that those two words are so close together. Yeah. Tune and tone myself, and come into further alignment. And it may feel a little bit weird. It's like, I feel new. I feel different, and so many deaths and so many rebirths. So many deaths, so many rebirths. And I love what you brought up at the beginning, talking about these times, and a lot of people, there can be a lot of chaos or pain, or they're feeling headaches or this or that they don't, no doctor has any idea they can't find anything wrong, but sometimes that's the sign, and that's the trick of saying, this isn't just a fun thing to do, to explore my channeling, like this is necessary. Our bodies are saying we need to do this. Our bodies are saying we get to open up to more than what we thought we were. We get to discover these gifts. We get to hone into them. And as we do so, that headache opening may be a huge amount of intelligence surrounding maybe our cosmic mission, anything that can show up in any way. And so I encourage people to not look at this as just some frilly thing, but actually, especially now when we're feeling all these different symptoms in our body, like you said, being in touch with our body and opening, we might discover a lot about ourselves and bring a lot of healing to ourselves. We don't have to suffer so much in our lives.
And also, notice what is happening around you when you're feeling the symptoms.
Okay.
Notice what's happening around you. Who is around you? Where are you? What environment are you in? Notice what could be triggering those things for you. Also, when you're feeling I'll just use the headache, are you grounded? Do you need to take some breaths? Do you need to make some vowel sounds? Is it just that you just have so much energy? You're going around street sweeping. Maybe you just have so much energy in your system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And some of these basic things, so beautiful. All right. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I'm just kind of feeling into the energy. That was really sweet. Okay. They now are willing to do a small channeling for you, Angie. And this is This is going to be fun. Okay, I'm going to take a deep breath. And invite them in. I'm already kind of hearing them, but let's see how it goes. All right. Aho, dear sister. We are so proud that you are here. We have seen your journey in your life, and we are now very glad to see that you and Gwen have connected as sisters in the holy ways. You are in the middle of expanding your experiences and expanding a new identity of you, one that feels bright and like a star. And we actually encourage you to use this word star in your identity. Star being what you are, and you being actually a shooting star, an energy that was brought here to this earth for a very specific reason. And you are in the middle of opening that mission, although we would not say mission, opening yourself to what you truly are and the play of what you wish to play out here on this earth. We encourage you and we celebrate you in how you bring this into your family and how you engage them. And we encourage you to bring them along in your play, offer them opportunities where they may support and develop their own talents and skills while not feeling pushed to do so. It is important for them to feel like they can discover in their own ways, yet know that what they do is a support to you and the joy in your life. It is important as a family for you to have playful times together. And we encourage you as you develop these programs that you will be offering to people, that you schedule and you maintain times for your family so that there's bonding, love, and communication that occurs while you are with them. Your family is dear to you, and they have traveled many lives with you, and their hearts rejoice when they see that you are living your true potential here on this planet in this way. We encourage you to continue to interact and have particularly times by the ocean, by the sea with your family. This is something that is very dear to you and your family and will bring bonding and experiences of education and connection from all of you together. People will see you and will celebrate and know that family relationships can be beautiful and supportive one with another. These are some simple things and blessings that we leave with you. And once again, we encourage you in your play. And we are excited that you and Gwen have connected, for her soul mission is celebration and joy. And bringing this energy of celebration and joy into the experience of knowing the depths of what we truly are. She is here, and this is a part of her mission on earth. And so we rejoice with you, two sisters, and we invite all in who desire to play, to enjoy the beauties and the facets of all that they are. And we say there is no need to fear anymore. We are all one. We are all one in love. Aho.
Aho.
See, it's so fun. Who would want to miss out on that?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. So much of what you said, I just love this. So many things that you said have so much importance in the theme of my life right now. It's insane. So
oh my gosh,
I really appreciate the share and the reflection and the confirmation. And one of my best friends forever has been so supportive of me in my journey. And she always says to me that you're a star. She said, you have this star inside of you. So when you said that, I was like, oh, she's going to be so happy when she hears that. And she'll use it in so many great ways of reflection and reminders to me, like, keep doing your thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, I love that. I mean, when that came through, of course, I never know what's going to come through. And I'm like, I just get to say it, I just get to say it. I don't know how applicable this is, but that was really strong because I saw Angie and I'm like, a star. And so I thought that was so interesting. Yeah. How cool is that?
Yeah. And mission, you said mission, and mission is a word that people keep saying to me, but when I hear it, it's like, it doesn't really resonate, but I've been trying to figure out what word would be like mission. So when you said mission, but then you reframed it, I was like, yes.
There you go. I know my guys do that to me often. They're like, Gwen says this, but really what we're saying is. So I think that's fun. Oh, well,
So awesome.
This has been so lovely. I'm excited for you and your growth. And I totally want to keep tabs with you. And I'd love to do further play and further exploration with you. If, I'm sure it's so funny. I'm like, is this going to be a book? And so who knows what's going to expand between you and me and what's going to happen. I mean, I have a playbook that's out. And I think sometimes offering people some tools, some basic tools for them to enter in. And so they can practice some foundational things that's going to support them in their exploration. I think it's so important. And I feel like you've got a few little lovely keys and this person's got a few lovely keys and that person does. And it's so beautiful when we can all come together and play.
Yes.
I love that. Cool. Okay. What's your final blessing before we go today? I'm like, Angie knows how to do a blessing.
Thank you so much to our guides for being here, guiding us, connecting us, bringing this in this form and this essence into life. And thank you so much, Gwen, for feeling the call to connect with me and to explore some fun ways that we can bring these teachings into our life. Please help us to see the blessings within us and around us every moment of this life. Thank you for all of the team, universal team, and the support and the guidance and the alignments and the true essence of love within us. Thank you for this beautiful life. Aho.
Aho. Thank you so much. Thank you all who have attended and who are listening here today. Until next time, own your stage and play on.
Yes.
That's my word.
I love it.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Welcome to Channeling. Till the next episode, own your stage and play on. Hot Muffin Media.